What if the very boulder that threatens to crush your plans is in fact the chisel meant to carve the doorway to those same plans? Imagine a young engineer in ancient Ephesus racing to complete a canal before imperial auditors arrive. Overnight, an earthquake topples half the retaining wall into the trench, sealing months of labor under tons of rubble. The overseers wail, workers curse, the deadline looms like an executioner, and the engineer kneels in the dust, only to notice that the collapsed stone has exposed a rich seam of clay, perfect for lining the canal against seepage. What seemed ruin becomes reinforcement. 2 millennia later, we repeat Marcus Aurelius's whispered realization. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Yet we seldom embody it. Why? Because the first reflex is to recoil, to name the event disaster and ourselves victim. We forget the Stoic formula etched in that engineer's moment. Obstacle equals opportunity. Your promotion may hinge less on a flawless project than on how you respond when server banks crash the night before launch. Your marriage may depend less on candlelit anniversaries than on the hour the MRI shows an unexpected shadow. Nations, too, pivot on adversity. Athens forged democracy amid Persian invasion, and NASA perfected life support systems by salvaging the near-fatal malfunction of Apollo 13. Fail to convert obstacles, and you court a life of brittle optimism. Confident only when seas are grease-calm. Master the art, and you stride with assurance into jungles of uncertainty, magnetizing allies who sense your immunity to panic. Across these 4 parts, we will dissect the Stoic mantra, obstacles are opportunities, until it beats like a living engine in your chest. We will 1. Reconstruct the logic behind the maxim, why nature herself runs on obstruction turned advantage. 2. Distill 9 archetypal obstacles: physical, emotional, reputational, logistical, temporal, relational, financial, ethical, and existential, and show, through story and drill, how to flip each into leverage. 3rd, forge an operating system for crisis. Perceive, pause, prize, pivot, propagate. 4th, test the creed against uncontrollable cataclysms, war, plague, mortality, and outline legacy practices that let opportunity outlive its originator. I speak as a man who has watched his printing business burn to black flakes the morning insurance lapsed. As a father who buried a son yet found the grave became a schoolhouse for hundreds of orphaned boys. As expedition leader who broke a leg on day 2 and thus discovered a mountain pass that saved the entire party on day 5. I have annotated the meditations so often the margins resemble charred lace, and I have field-tested each note against auditors, surgeons, and hurricanes. In this first watch, we shall lay bedrock, the Stoic physics of obstruction, the cognitive alchemy that melts problem into material, and the first 2 archetypes, physical block and emotional blow. By dawn, your pulse will beat a different cadence when confronted by jammed schedules or sudden insult. Each subsequent part will add more conversions until the mantra no longer feels like rhetoric, but like the instinctive closing of a warrior's gauntlet. I, the physics of resistance, why nature favors the detour water left unobstructed, follows gravity in languid curves. Yet when a granite rib juts across its valley, the river does not pine. It carves a faster gorge, spins turbines, powers future cities. The Stoics regarded such dynamics as physis, the creative fire that curls through cosmos. Zeno glimpsed opportunity in wreckage the day a storm sank his merchant fleet. Stripped of cargo, he wandered into a bookseller's stall, discovered Socrates, and birthed Stoicism. Marcus noted the selfsame law under Roman steel. The Germanic tribe's ambush forced him to winter near Carnuntum, where isolation yielded the most luminous pages of his diary. Resistance accelerates evolution. Accept that claim and half the mantra is yours. Modern neuroscience corroborates, when plans derail, the brain's anterior cingulate cortex lights up, flagging error. If one meets the spike with curiosity rather than alarm, the prefrontal cortex recruits alternative networks, often generating solutions more elegant than the original script. Thus, the obstruction is literally an ignition switch for creativity, when and only when fear does not short-circuit the current. Second archetype 1, the physical block, turning tangible barriers into material narrative. In 1914, Ernest Shackleton's ship Endurance froze into pack ice, splintering months later. Instead of mourning the lost vessel, Shackleton studied the drift rate of the flow imprisoning them, realized it would carry his men closer to an uncharted passage, and converted the wooden debris into shelters and sledges. By relinquishing nostalgia for hulls and accepting ice as new medium, he rescued every crew member. Stoic drill, the material reframe. Identify one current project hindered by a supply shortage, hardware failure, or spatial constraint. List the functional properties of the obstacle: weight, hardness, delay, space. Ask, how can these very properties serve the objective? Example: office renovation stalls due to missing desks. Repurpose crates into standing workstations, testing ergonomic pilot that may later save budget. Physical block becomes prototype generator. Practice weekly on minor snags so habit scales when factory fire or border closure arrives. Third archetype 2, the emotional blow, transmuting insult into insight. Narrative Epictetus, born slave, once poured lamp oil for a master who mocked his limp. Instead of rage, he studied the anatomy of insult, how it draws strength only from the recipient's valuation. Years later, free and teaching, he told students, "If someone calls you donkey and you bray, they were right." Emotional injury, he taught, is raw data about our hidden attachments. Stoic drill, the mirror interrogation. Next time ridicule or betrayal stings, pause one breath, then interrogate. What self-image was threatened? Is that identity integral to virtue? If yes, plan corrective action. If no, practice indifference. Write a 3-sentence diary epitaph for the wounded ego fragment. Thank it for its prior service, and dismiss. Over time, insults reveal not your weakness, but your syllabus, each point of pain showing where study must deepen. We have taken first sips from the cup, the laws behind the mantra, and 2 conversions: stone to stepping block, insult to syllabus. In Part 2, the heat rises. We will face reputational collapse, logistical chaos, and the grim ticking of deadlines, showing how these serpents may be milked for anti-venom. Keep the maxim close. What stands in the way becomes the way. Rehearse it tonight when the printer jams or a loved one snaps. Small skirmishes that sharpen blades for larger wars. Dawn is near. The engineer in ruined trench sets bricks from fallen wall. So shall you. Dawn crept across our first watch, bearing welcome evidence that theory bites deepest when teeth are fresh sharpened by practice. You have already tested the material reframe on some petty snag, perhaps a jammed door that became makeshift pinboard, or the sarcastic email that revealed a pocket of pride you had left unpoliced. Good. Keep those field notes close, because the obstacles awaiting us now pierce deeper tissue. A toppled wall or a stinging insult wounds mostly muscle. The next trio gnaws at bone: reputation, logistics, and time itself. Men have hanged themselves over each of these. Whole republics have fallen when rulers mistook them for dead ends rather than detours. Our task in this second watch is to pierce their disguise, harvest the hidden provisions, and march on. Before we proceed, remind yourself that opportunity is not a polite guest. It does not knock, remove hat, and offer references. It storms the gate in uniform of calamity, knowing full well that only a warrior of perception will recognize the ruse. Perception, as Marcus repeats, is the first domain of mastery. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Let us therefore tint our thought with the hue of conversion while we study the next three archetypes. Third archetype. 3. Reputational collapse. From public disgrace to unassailable credibility. Reputation, though intangible, behaves like a crystal glass. Once cracked, it will never again ring with the same clear note. Yet Stoic history brims with figures who forged indestructible authority precisely because their earlier acclaim shattered. Consider Cato the Younger, denounced in Senate for obstructing Pompey's grain subsidies. For weeks, Rome's rumor mills painted him as enemy of the poor. Instead of mounting frantic self-defense, Cato walked daily through the forum, unguarded, greeting citizens, listening to complaints, explaining fiscal arithmetic with patient detail. By turning the smear campaign into open-air seminar, he accomplished two silent revolutions. First, he inoculated the populace against future caricatures because they now possessed direct memory of his steady bearing. Second, he trained himself to regard public shaming as data, not death. Years later, when Caesar's envoys offered bribes for neutrality, that earlier disgrace had already burned away his concern for applause. The ashes hardened into incorruptible granite. Neither gold nor flattery could stick. Modern analog, a software firm publicly hacked, customer credentials leaked. CEO could hide behind PR firewall. Instead, she live streams post-mortem in jargon-free language, admits lapse, details patch roadmap, invites white hat community to participate. Stock price dips, then rebounds double within a quarter. Because she walked through Emberfield barefoot, future clients rank her security diligence above competitors who never faced breach. Stoic drill, open ledger confession. When rumor, lawsuit, or headline skewers your name, draft a statement of exact failures, no excuses, no blame shifting. Share it first with inner circle, then, scaled to context, with stakeholders. Add action plan and timeline, invite scrutiny. Behind closed doors, practice premeditatio of further ridicule. Once worst imagery cannot surprise, step into arena. The public may still jeer, but seeds of deeper trust germinate in minds attuned to courage. You will also free psychic bandwidth formerly shackled to image management, redeploying it toward substantive repair, an efficiency unavailable to those still sandbagging facades. Fourth archetype 4. Logistical snarl, when the map disintegrates and pathfinding becomes the product. A caravan near Petra 2,000 years ago loses half its camels to sudden fever. Conventional choice: abort expedition. The Nabatean guide instead repurposes abandoned crates into sledges dragged by remaining beasts, travels at night when sand crust hardens. Arrival delayed? Yes, yet the novel transport design impresses Syrian merchants who copy it for winter trade, extending Nabatean dominance. Obstacle becomes export. Logistical chaos, containers stuck in Suez, microchips scarce, pandemic closures, tends to provoke finger-pointing. Stoic strategy forbids such luxury. It begins with the talismanic question, what within this snarl is uniquely visible to me, and how can that visibility serve others? Visibility, the vantage granted by misfortune, is currency. During Iceland's volcanic ash shutdown of European skies, one horticulture startup leveraged grounded passenger jets' vacant cargo holds to fly fresh produce previously priced out of air freight. Their margin tripled inside 10 chaotic days. Stoic drill, the broken chain workshop. Gather team the instant supply chain buckles. On whiteboard, draw entire chain. Red slash the ruptured link. Force every participant to list at least one asset made newly available by the rupture. Warehouse space, freed labor hours, public sympathy, media attention, price volatility. Rank assets by immediacy and rarity. Convert top 3 into pilot offers within 48 hours. Practice on small disruptions monthly so reflex ripens. Remember Epictetus. He is a competitor in the greatest contest who transforms constraint into exercise. Vru. Archetype 5. Temporal pressure. Turning the scythe into a metronome time is a predator most men flee by padding schedules, extending milestones, filing for continuance. Yet Marcus admonishes, you will live no more than this breath you are now breathing. Everything else is uncertain. Stoic conversion teaches that the blade of deadline, instead of severing quality, can pair excess, sculpt essence, ignite momentum. Elon Musk's 2-week spacecraft challenge employs similar leverage. So did Michelangelo painting the Sistine under papal fury. My own consulting firm once accepted a municipality turnaround project that analysts deemed impossible in 90 days. First meeting consumed by lament until we reframed. 90 days equals board-sanctioned license to ignore peripheral protocols that normally strangle innovation. Each sub-team asked, what deliverable would we attempt if red tape vanished? The compressed horizon shielded us from bureaucratic antibodies. We delivered core outcome, leaving deluxe options for successor teams. The deadline's scythe became drumbeat. Stoic drill, the sandglass contract, choose a task ballooning toward paralysis. Book manuscript, software refactor, legal brief. Publicly commit to version 1.0 in half the standard timeline. List major components. Force each into must-have/nice-to-have. Erect daily visual burn-down chart. Accept that some polish will be deferred. Channel freed hours into testing or storytelling. Upon delivery, gather feedback. You may reincorporate polish later, but momentum and early truth from users will dwarf cosmetic cost. Time has served as ruthless coach, not hangman. Aggregating the conversions, the pivot circuit. With 5 archetypes now unveiled, we can articulate the core circuit that snaps obstacle into opportunity almost reflexively. 1. Perceive, halt narrative. Name raw facts like coordinates. Second pause. Insert breath, silence limbic sirens. Third prize. Identify unique assets or vantage created precisely by obstruction. Fourth. Pivot. Draft and launch a micro-action exploiting that asset. 5. Propagate. Communicate pivot transparently, thereby converting spectators into allies. Write these 5 verbs on an index card. Carry inside wallet until worn translucent. They are the muscle memory you will need when phone vibrates with an emergency you never rehearsed. We have walked through the hail of public scorn, tangled freight corridors, and the hiss of scythes. Yet 3 giants remain. financial ruin, ethical dilemma, and existential threat. Part 3 will wrestle with money lost and regained, with partnerships poisoned and purified, and will teach the paradox of benevolent bankruptcy. Part 4 will place you at the edge of life and ask whether this mantra still holds when the obstacle is dust returning to dust. Spoiler: it does, if you have cultivated the vantage we're building watch by watch. Between now and the next fireside, repeat at least one drill per archetype already covered. Invite a minor reputational risk, stage a logistics simulation, compress one deadline beyond comfort. Record outcomes in the ledger. Remember, the maxim "obstacles are opportunities" is not embroidered wisdom. It is vertebrae that calcify only under load. Tomorrow's impediment is already stirring. You will be ready to welcome it. Picture a merchant banquet on the Tigris, silver cups clinking as the host, flushed with profit from the spice caravan, boasts that his ledgers gleam without blemish. A messenger bursts in. Pirates have seized the return convoy, credit lines are frozen, and Persia's border has slammed shut. In one breath, the hall shifts from festival to wake. The merchant's friends slide their chairs away. Hangers-on hunt new patrons. His wife stares, calculating how long until bracelets must be sold. It is in that crack between wine sip and ruin that our mantra must prove its claim. Obstacles are opportunities. Money evaporates, alliances fray, reputation curdles, but if the maxim is true, here lie ores richer than the lost spice. Tonight we mine them. A charred workshop you can rebuild with timber, a bruised ego you can salve with reflection. Yet a financial implosion can exile children from schooling. A relational schism can fling holidays into silence, and an ethical lapse can gnaw at the roots of your own self-respect. These 3 obstacles often arrive braided, each yanking the other tighter. Debt stresses marriage. Betrayal tempts fraud. Guilt drains solvency. Fail to alchemize them, and the ground remains salted for decades. Master their conversion, and you create anti-fragile wealth, resilient fellowship, and stainless integrity, the tripod that steadies every later venture. We advance to Archetype 6, Financial Catastrophe, Archetype 7, Relational Rupture, and Archetype 8, Ethical Trap. For each, a historical or modern saga, Stoic principle, and drill you can enact before next rent cycle closes or the next argument ignites. When we conclude, you will possess a transferable blueprint. Fortune lost, freedom found, love shattered, alliance reforged, temptation offered, character marketed as premium brand. I have filed Chapter 11 once, near divorced twice, and resigned a lucrative post rather than sign doctored numbers. Each toll left callous, some proud, some still tender. The drills I offer are not abstractions. They paid my creditors, reclaimed my marriage, and let me sleep unguarded by self-contempt. We begin with money, for coin is the blood of commerce. Next, relationship, for community is the breath of the soul. Last, ethics, the bones that keep body and breath upright. Then, a bridge to Part 4 where death and legacy wait. Now, some exciting news. Our channel now offers a members club. By joining it, you'll unlock exclusive benefits, deeper content dives, and personal insights. Join us on this journey, and let's build a meaningful life together. And I also humbly ask you to leave a comment, as it helps my channel immensely. If you do not know what to comment, just write better every day, so I know you reached this far. And don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Also, I've linked some books on Stoicism that helped me become the man I am today, and will also help you achieve a Stoic mindset. 6. Archetype 6, financial catastrophe, when empty pockets buy equity in freedom. In 63 BC, Roman praetor Marcus Crassus cornered the silver market, only to see eastern mines flood supply, prices collapse. Lesser investors jumped from roofs. Crassus, assets vaporized, surveyed ruins and noticed one price rising. Condemned real estate scorched by recent fires. He spent last denarii on a private brigade of slaves trained to fight blazes. They would arrive at a smoking building, negotiate rock-bottom purchase from panicked owner, extinguish flames, refurbish, and rent. Crassus rebuilt wealth tenfold, funding later alliance with Caesar. Fire had presented a clearance sale visible only to a man stripped of conventional liquidity and pride. Stoicism frames money as indifferent, neither good nor evil, only tool. Catastrophe removes tool, but also the tunnel vision it imposes. What remains are skills and reputation. Portable capital. Seneca. He is truly wealthy who adapts to poverty. For 7 days, live on cash already in wallet. No credit, no digital. Catalog each obstacle. Commute, meal, gift, emergency. Force ingenuity. Barter skill for vegetables. Share ride. Host free workshop for cafe credit. End week listing revenue streams born solely from creativity. Choose one to develop into side income independent of salary. Thus, collapse rehearsed in miniature forges, anti-fragile enterprise ready when macro collapse strikes. 7th, Archetype 7. Relational rupture. From shattered trust to stronger alloy, Themistocles, Athenian strategist, was exiled after trumped-up treason charges by resentful rivals he once saved at Salamis. Homeless, he journeyed to Persia, realm of former enemy Xerxes. Rather than stew in betrayal, he studied Persian protocol, learned language, advised Artaxerxes on Greek tactics. Years later, when Sparta threatened Athens anew, Themistocles sent secret guidance that allowed his old city to negotiate rather than bleed. Exile became diplomatic bridge no loyal citizen could cross. Stoic oikeiosis. Recognition that humanity is one household allows a betrayal to widen, not close, circle of concern. Wrongs reveal attachments too brittle. Conversion lies in expanding loyalties to include even betrayer, thereby freeing strategy from personal vendetta. Right name of person who gravely disappointed you. Detail concrete resources once shared. Information, introductions, skills. Next column. List contexts where those resources remain valuable to third parties. Devise plan to redeploy them absent the betrayer, transforming wound into asset for wider network. Simultaneously, draft a concise, non-accusatory letter offering peace terms if future collaboration serves mutual benefit. Whether letter sent or not, exercise shifts mind from grievance echo chamber to opportunity radar. 8. Archetype 8. Ethical trap, when the bribe becomes your billboard. In 1972, automotive engineer Yoshihiko Wada discovered a brake defect in his company's flagship sedan. Executives offered promotion to suppress report. Wada refused, resigned, and leaked data. Stock tanked, recall ensued. 3 years later, regulators mandated new safety standards derived from Wada's documentation. Independent investors founded rival firm hiring Wada as CTO. Their zero-compromise marketing converted his moral stand into competitive advantage worth billions. The bribe intended to quiet became megaphone. Stoics classify virtue as the sole intrinsic good. Refusal of unethical shortcut reveals something rarer than profit. Credibility with lifetime warranty. Temptation is thus free publicity, an unsolicited stage upon which to display incorruptibility. Write a one-page public statement titled, Principles I Will Not Trade. Include 3 red-line practices: falsifying data, abusing labor, concealing hazards. Share with mentor or team. When tempted, the very visibility of pledge amplifies cost of violation, making refusal easier. If opportunity lost because of stand, record intangible gains: media trust, employee loyalty, clarity of conscience, and publicized narrative in blog or talk. Market rewards premium brand. 9. Synthesizing gold, heart, and judgment. The opportunity portfolio. You now hold 3 new conversion recipes. Combine them as portfolio. Each obstacle exposes distinct asset class. Money loss yields creativity liquidity. Betrayal yields expanded coalition equity. Temptation resisted yields brand dividend. Keep score quarterly. Diversify by deliberately accepting 1 low-risk setback in each class. Small investment flop, minor misunderstanding, micro-temptation like false expense category caught and corrected. Muscles strengthen. Maberners. X. Anticipating Archetype 9 and the final summit. We have traversed 8 obstacles. Remains the 9th and ultimate, existential crisis. Illness, mortality, annihilation of everything but bare consciousness. Part 4 will walk into hospice ward, war trench, and deep space, asking whether the mantra, what stands in the way becomes the way, survives where breath itself is obstacle. Spoiler, it does, and legacy is the opportunity harvested. Bring your ledger, wear plain clothes, the mountain's shadow grows. Picture a lone astronaut on the return flight from Mars. Mid-journey, a micrometeorite spears the life support module. In minutes, the ship's oxygen will fall below survivable thresholds. Ground control is 19 minutes of radio lag away. No rescue can arrive. On a monitor flickers the face of his daughter, pre-recorded, singing a lullaby he once hummed while braiding her hair. Panic claws at his throat, yet memory of a single Stoic axiom ignites. Obstacles are opportunities. But how could imminent death be anything but a wall? Sheer, blind, final. This 4th watch answers that riddle, for if the maxim holds even here, it graduates from motivational slogan to universal principle. Most men defer confronting death until it grips their trachea. They plan legacies as accountants plan taxes, late and under duress. Yet mortality is the only obstacle guaranteed to all, and therefore the richest quarry of opportunity. Master its conversion, and no earlier obstacle, not frozen capital, not shattered trust, will ever again arrest your poise. Fail, and every earlier mastery sours into resentment. Wealth cannot be enjoyed, bonds cannot be savored. Virtue cannot be celebrated because fear darkens all. We will dissect existential peril through 3 lenses. 1. Illness, the slow erosion. 2. Violence and cataclysm, the sudden guillotine. 3. Inevitable expiry, the calendar with an invisible red circle. From each lens we will generate a specific opportunity: illumination, amplification, and propagation. Then we will forge the legacy engine, a practical system for converting every breath into transmissible value so that even extinction plants seedlings. I witnessed my own cardiac arrest at 42, eyes open while paramedics tore my shirt. I also cupped a dying friend's head in Mosul after a roadside blast, and I have stood at the foot of my father's hospice bed as he asked for a pencil to sign one more scholarship check. These scenes supply more than theater. They are laboratories of the maxim. We begin with sickness, drawn-out adversity that invites despair. Next, we tackle abrupt doom, when seconds decide the narration. Finally, we face the ordinary deadline none escape, and translated into a manufacturer of eternal dividends. Illness as illumination. Seeing what health keeps hidden narrative. Seneca contracted recurrent asthma so violent, he wrote friends to expect his death each night. Instead of cursing the constriction, he claimed it summoned rehearsal. Every attack clarified what sentences still begged to be written. He drafted On the Shortness of Life Between Spasms, distilling years into pages that now outlive empires. The wheeze became whistle, alerting him to squandered afternoons. Modern corollary, author Jenny Diskey, diagnosed with terminal lung cancer, used hospital stasis to pen essays dismantling her own fear. Sales funded her chosen charities. She called the tumor her deadline engine. Principal illness narrows bandwidth, but, like a zoom lens, sharpens whatever remains inside frame. Marcus, do not dream of perfect health. Use the present ailment as material for virtue. Drill, the diagnostic spotlight. During any sickness, flu, or chronic flare, keep a 24-hour diary limited to 2 columns: energy pulses and insights. Each uptick of vitality, ask, what task calls most loudly if this is my sole hour of clarity? Perform it. Over repeated bouts, patterns emerge, true priorities glowing against backdrop of fatigue. Healthy stretches thereafter feel extravagant. Wasted hours are shunned. Opportunity. Ruthless prioritization no corporate workshop can teach. 2. Cataclysm as amplification, sudden doom, sudden signal narrative flight. QF-32, an Airbus A380, lost an engine in 2010. Captain Richard de Crespigny, Stoic student, told crew, "We are not in danger, we are in command of a new problem." He delegated checklists, reassured 469 passengers, landed overweight yet safe. Post-event, aviation adopted his cockpit resource management insights. The obstacle amplified leadership qualities that would have slumbered for decades. Principal catastrophe strips theater, revealing essence. Stoic ataraxia, unperturbedness, is microphone and loudspeaker. It broadcasts the composed mind to a rattled crowd, converting fear into synchrony. Drill, the one-breath protocol rehearse monthly with team. At random, someone yells, "Simulated rupture," triggering one deep inhale, mental checklist. Accept, assess, assign, act. Clock 90-second response cycle. In real crises, this habit fires automatically. Opportunity. Credibility minted at speed of calm. 3. Inevitable expiry as propagation, planting trees under whose shade. Narrative, Marcus Aurelius, knowing plague would likely claim him, penned meditations not for publication but for self-instruction. 2 millennia later, it guides millions, its influence dwarfing his military statutes. His approaching death propagated wisdom into epochs he could not imagine. Principle. The finite horizon compresses attention toward transmissible value. Knowledge, systems, culture, rather than trophies. Stoics call this practice leaving the politics of ashes. Drill, the 5-sentence will each equinox, write a micro will limited to 5 sentences. 1. Gratitude list. 2. Key lesson. 3. Asset handover. 4. Apology. 5. Blessing. Store where heirs can find. Update biannually. Over time, this grows into living manual. Opportunity. Your distilled ethos travels farther than any statue. 4th, the legacy engine, a repeatable process for continuous opportunity extraction. Step 1. Capture, daily jot obstacle moments, however small. Step 2. Convert, apply the 5-verb pivot circuit. Step 3, crystallize, translate lesson into note, video, verbeater process. Step 4, distribute, teach one person within 48 hours, colleague, child, stranger, online. Step 5, archive, file artifact in indexed repository, cloud, or notebook. Loop endlessly. Catastrophe accelerates the engine but is not required. Small obstacles keep machinery oiled. V. Concluding invocation, standing ready at life's frontier. You have walked 4 watches. Material obstacles, emotional bruises, public loss, logistical snarls, ticking clocks, financial implosions, betrayals, ethical traps, and now mortality itself. The mantra has held every obstruction, once gripped, swung open a gate. This does not render grief painless, debt effortless, or death charming. It renders them serviceable. So, when next a wall appears, be it mundane glitch or mass grave, recite without bravado but without tremor. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Then breathe, perceive, pause, prize, pivot, propagate, and walk. For beyond that wall lies ground no softer than before, but lit now by the torch you hammered from the very stones that once blocked your path. Now, if any part of this message has been helpful to you, leave us your like and comment, helping the algorithm recommend it to someone who needs it at this time. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss new videos. And if you look through the videos we've already uploaded, you're sure to find